Welcome, everyone, to the Strengths Champion podcast. I'm your host, Brent O'Bannon, and we are here to help you grow stronger, work smarter, and lead wiser. And today I have a guest, Greg McCoy, who is the CEO and the founder of Hidden Gem, which I just absolutely love that creative name. So, welcome, Greg. Tell us who you are and also about Hidden Gem.
Hey, Brent, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to jump on the podcast here with you. We've gotten to know each other here over the past couple months, so happy to get into some discussions. But yeah, I'm originally from Arlington, Texas. I went to Oklahoma State, got a marketing degree, and then I have been a gym owner and operator since 2009. I have had 3 different brands, Hidden Gem being the latest of those. The evolution of kind of my 15 years in the industry here. We started Hidden Gem in 2019, and it is a results-oriented facility, which sounds pretty straightforward, like aren't all gyms results-oriented? But the truth of the matter is a lot of them just want to, get a flat fee and let you have at it. And we've got layers of programming, to help you a little bit or hold your hand every step of the way. So, and every facet in between. So we bring people together that, training is a top 5 life priority. So it's more of a psychographic than a demographic. Those people span all ages and credos. But and we've got locations in Allen, Texas, Richardson, Texas, and downtown Dallas. So all here in the North Dallas area.
And if you want more information, definitely go to the website, hiddengem.net. And of course, you can connect with Greg McCoy on LinkedIn, which is another great professional place to connect with him. And, sometime during this podcast, you're going to have to show your guns.
Deal. We'll just go ahead and
bring it over a little bit more here. There it is. If you want to see more pictures, of course, you can go on Facebook. You can go on his website, on the social media.
You got to walk the walk. That's what I believe.
Hey, and I do believe that in every sphere of life. And one of the things I really appreciate on your website, it says, "Welcome to the best gym experience in Texas. Unleash your hidden potential." And that's what I do as a master certified coach and a Gallup certified strengths coach as well. And the physical is a piece of that potential. And of course, there are other parts to our career, our finances, our mental, emotional, even spiritual health and well-being. One thing that I think it's important for people to know about your business, your Hidden Gem. What are some of the different types of unique services that you all provide?
We and so I said this is an evolution, right? We started out, I started out in my career, mainly serving a very small audience, which was bodybuilders and powerlifters. That's what my history is. And that's what our gyms were focused on. They were rough and tough, not the most welcoming place you've ever been. They were everyone's friendly, of course, but it was a scary place for some people.
People are so massive, and
and
you've got these boxers and MMA fighters, and
and so now we're still some people find it intimidating, and we have to work against that because we have all walks of life in here. And we like to say, you might, if you're a very fit person, but you're going to take up space because you're texting on your phone more than you're working out, you're probably not going to fit in so well here. But if it's your first day in the gym and you're in here working hard, we all respect that. But yeah, we kind of found a lot of these people that like to do different types of training, whether that be mixed martial arts or boxing or CrossFit or some of these new functional fitness like Spartan Race or High Rocks or these things, they all need very specific equipment, and their options are basically take stuff to their gym and hope that that gym doesn't get mad, or build their own gym at home And so we have kind of built an environment where there's, 8 or 9 of these, kind of niche training styles that all find themselves a place here. And then, of course, on top of that, we have just, folks that want to get generally fit or lose weight or feel better, gain more energy. So yeah, that's like where we have a competitive advantage over a big box gym is we're going to have specialized equipment. You're going to be in a community of like-minded people. It's one of our, you can see on my wall behind me here, our core values, community being one of those. So that's really what sets us apart.
Go ahead and give that a shout out. The core values for your.
Get my head out of the way here. Yeah, community, education, and philanthropy. That's what we, the core values that we use to guide the gym. And pretty much everything we do is going to at least connect with one of those, if not 2 or 3 all at one time.
And by the way, those people that are into mixed martial arts, Greg has done a lot of partnering and collaboration, bringing in some world-class instructors. One of them being, I got to meet him at our recent Let's Talk Strengths workshop, Guy Metzger.
Yeah.
So give just a quick shout out about him and MMA with Hidden Gym.
Yeah, Guy has been awesome. We acquired a gym in Richardson that Guy was running his program out of, and him and I have really hit it off. Guy's a legend in Dallas. And kind of all over. He won the UFC in the 90s, which, not a whole lot of people can say that they've done that. And he's world champion in kickboxing, world champion in jiu-jitsu. He was been on, all kinds of TV shows. He's got, contracts with the Navy to train. He's training kind of special forces level folks on hand-to-hand combat. So we got a really cool group of people in there. And then, of course, with all that knowledge, we do everything from teaching self-defense to, if you just are bored with running on a treadmill and rather throw punches and kicks to stay in shape, we have a large, community of people that are, just looking to stay in shape, and martial arts being their, method of choice.
It sounds like you're building a really cool community of people that are interconnected and inspiring, which, that's what many people go to a gym for. They want that camaraderie. And now the next area, your core value is education. And of course, that's recently when you found me as a strength champion coach and brought me in for you and your team, and you were discovering more about your strengths, which I'm going to go ahead and just highlight those. Your top 5 strengths are achiever, learner, focus. You and I have focus and achiever the same in our top 5, intellection, and input. So what is your education learning so far as you get to know these strengths in yourself?
I think it was, and like I told you, and for those that aren't familiar, I have some history with StrengthsFinder, and this was my first time to actually get, a professional like Brent to walk us through it. And that definitely, we've learned a ton from Brent and me specifically. I think a lot of it was more of like, almost kind of reassurance of like, okay, yeah, that's 100% me. And this explains a lot about the way that I operate. And it helps you, when you understand yourself, it helps you kind of work well with others, or, kind of explain if that's my wife, or if that's a close coworker, like this is how I'm wired, and this is why I'm going to operate in a certain way. So certainly, like, I think the first 3, really spoke, 100% to my personality. So that was a lot of it, of the realizations of like, this is why I do what I do, which is cool. And certainly something to know that, okay, if these are, strengths of mine, and they already kind of by my nature have become what I focus on, but let's pour into those even more.
So specifically, achiever is defined as someone who has that work ethic. They love that to-do list. They love being able to produce something very goal focused, which focus is also an executing strength, and also likes to have that bullseye, wants to know, really the why before you start. How have you applied achiever focus, especially to your own even bodybuilding and even physical development?
Yeah, I think it's like you said, I can't survive without a goal. It's what I absolutely base every habit that I put in place, every try to just always make the most out of my time and my days. And I like the bigger the goal, the more motivated it makes me. And I
Mm-hmm.
have learned in time, to be a little more selective on what those goals are, because I think because of my personality, if I've got too many goals, I'll just run myself into the ground. And you'll get a lot more focusing on a few good goals than you just don't have the bandwidth to do too much. So I think it's been, really, I think the achiever, as I've learned to kind of polish that trait, has been being very selective about the goals, being very good at like, okay, here's lofty goals. Let's backtrack. What are those milestones? What are the habits that I need to get in place to make those a reality? And that's, I credit bodybuilding a ton in the success I've been able to have in business, because it requires just so much discipline. I don't know anyone that knows much about it, but we train hard year round. That's just a given. That's kind of the fun part, is the workouts. And that's what people think is the hard part. And for us, that's the part we enjoy. The hard part becomes, for a good part of the year, you're consuming way more than you would ever want to. You can't grow muscle out of air, so you have to eat in a surplus. So we're eating on a schedule year round. That sounds more fun than it is. To have to eat when you're not hungry is not that enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, getting ready for a contest, it's a very Spartan like schedule. Every meal is weighed out. We eat 6 times a day. We're doing cardio and weight training every single day. So it's, usually a 2 to 3 hour daily commitment of training, and then a very regimented meal plan. And that, I've been doing that since I was 19, and the level of discipline that's allowed me to have is, certainly played into business.
And I can hear your focus that is helping you be more wise and selective. Sometimes we have to let go of something that's good in order to focus on something we want to become great at. How did you first get excited, passionate, introduced to even, working out and bodybuilding?
I had this kind of itch for it even as a kid. I would do my mom's workout tapes like when I was like a toddler.
You mean like Suzanne Summers or what?
Yeah. What was her name? The step aerobics girl. It'll come to me. But my mom would catch me upstairs like hitting the stepper, because I wanted to look like the guys in the thing. And then of course, like, I was born in 86. So as I'm becoming, 7, 8, 9 years old, like Arnold and Stallone and Van Damme and all these guys are who I'm looking at. And then I was, a good athlete in sports, but I always enjoyed the workouts more so than the actual game, because I was like, I don't know, and maybe this is my focus trait or whatever, but I preferred that regimented discipline program. I'm gonna, if we had practice, I preferred the practice I was doing in addition to practice. That was my time of like just being really obsessed with self-improvement. And, when sports ended for me in high school, I wasn't, talented enough to play. I got an academic scholarship, and I wasn't, good enough to play at the school I went to. So that's when I took up competitive bodybuilding, because I needed an outlet. Like, I'm like, I love training so much. I'm not ready to be like the intramural guy. Like, I want to treat this as, more serious than anything. And, I don't want to be competing against guys drinking beer. Like I want to train like a pro athlete, basically. And so bodybuilding has been that outlet for me.
And it sounds like even on a mental academic level, you were a pretty good learner even early on. So describe learner for you and some of the areas in your life that have fascinated you in learning?
Sure. Yeah. I'm just so hungry to learn anything and everything I can. I have become, almost an obsessive reader. I'm excited because this year I track my reading and I kind of, pick categories and things with a strategy. But I'm excited because this year I will hit the 200 book mark, which is a big milestone. I had a professor at OSU. I went to Oklahoma State, so go Pokes. I had a professor at OSU that told me he read 100 books, and I found that so inspiring. It always stuck with me. So I was like, I think I hit 100 books in like 2015 or something. And so it's been almost, kind of 10 years in the making to hit that, 200 book mark. So that's supposed to happen if I stay.
And what's your favorite way or method to read?
It's so funny because I'll post about, a big thing like that, like 200 books, and people are like, oh, I wish I had time to read. And I'm like, I maybe read 20 minutes a day. I wake up in the morning, I check my phone, just, the nature of my business, we're open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. So it's like, and we close one day a year.
Make sure there's no crisis in the morning.
Let's make sure the gym isn't burning down. And then I have coffee and I'll read. Usually it's like, maybe 10 minutes in the Bible to kick it off. And then whatever book I've got going, I'll read for 20, 25 minutes. And to be honest, that's the extent of it. And, 20, 30 minutes a day for 20 years, and you get a lot of books done.
So have you listened to a book in audio, like Audible or something?
So I took a learner test. Like, as you can tell, Strength Finder, I like to assess myself on all these things, but I'm not an auditory learner. I don't retain much information that way. So, but I do like it. So I'll say the only book I'll listen to on audio is a biography. I don't like any kind of if it's a little bit technical or things that I need to really understand. I prefer to have that in text and I can underline and take notes and things. But with biographies, especially if the author is the one talking it, I really enjoy those.
You get to hear it in their voice many times.
And my favorite biographies are really I always end up with coaches, specifically, pro sports and college sports coaches, whether that be Phil Jackson or Jimmy Johnson or all these. Tony Dungy has a series of books that are amazing. So those leadership stories, and especially people that are able to coach high performing teams that can perform consistently. That's I love stories like that.
How did learner even show up early on for you as a teenager?
I mean, I probably come back to the passion for bodybuilding. I mean, I can remember at age 13, and it was I couldn't believe my eyes. We were at Barnes and Nobles as a family. I was maybe 12 or 13 years old, and I got Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, and I just remember being semi-disgusted, but also intrigued at the photographs. And I'm like, I can't even believe this is a real person.
Right.
And then, I started buying fitness books and writing all these, I was writing diets and training programs for myself at 13 years old, making my dad buy protein bars and Metrex shakes and all these, things. So I think that was really the first area or thing that fitness was the thing that I just couldn't learn enough about. I obsessed over it for my entire teenage years. And, it's to this day, it's still something, I was at a workshop for the last, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, this weekend, with a bunch of, high level training guys, just trying to crack the code,
It's always there, that learner, it sounds like.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that you were, did you say valedictorian or you got an academic scholarship?
Yeah, I got an academic scholarship.
So I think of intellection and input. I think of intellection as someone who's a deep thinker that likes to have thought time, thinking time, likes being inside their head. And of course, input is people who like to collect resources, tools to also help other people with. How would you describe intellection for you as a strength?
I think that was one of those. It certainly was helpful in my marriage because
Mhm.
my wife will constantly accuse me of being somewhere else. And this
Are
was
you
concrete.
daydreaming, Greg? Listen to me. Come back
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
moment.
yeah, that's it. Because I'm always like, my head is on some kind of, big or deep topic or something that I'm kind of wrestling with. And I'll do weird stuff. I'll put a candle in the refrigerator or, just do things because I'm kind of not present. And
Mm.
so that trait kind of explained it to me. But I also like that, like, I get up at a super early in the morning
Mm.
just so I have some time, to really give like deep thought to my most important topics.
And how introverted versus extroverted would you say you are?
I love this question because, again, book reference. If you guys haven't read the book Quiet,
Mm.
Susan something, yeah,
Susan Cain.
yeah, I believe so. And so it's a scale. It's not one or the other because I am an introvert, but people would find that shocking because I constantly like I'll MC fitness events several times a year, which I'm on stage and I love it. I'm comfortable doing that. But I think where I learned that I was an introvert, despite enjoying cameras and
Mm.
talking on camera and talking in front of crowds and all that, I don't gain energy from being around people. It's
Mm.
exhausting. I have to have, a significant amount of alone time for every hour that I spend with a lot of people.
Mm.
And I think that's more where you learn if you're an introvert or an extrovert. My wife being the opposite, if she's alone, her energy goes down. She needs to be around people, and that's what
Mhm.
energizes her. And so we have to find that balance where we keeping both of us happy.
Yes. In fact, I was trying to see if I could pull up her top 5 strengths, which I do. I do have here. So Tana has empathy number 1, positivity number 2, discipline number 3, harmony number 4, and developer number 5.
But she's 4 out of 5 relationship, and
Yeah.
I don't have a
Yeah.
1 in relationship.
Yes. In your top 5 as well.
Yeah.
And by the way, just so people understand, just because you don't have a relationship building theme in your top 5 strengths doesn't mean you don't know how to have relationship.
Very good
So
point.
we use our strengths to build relationships in other ways, but it may not be quite as natural. So the way Tana builds relationships, like being social, might be different than how you build relationships. Excuse me. So a question around that would be, if you were going to give advice to even entrepreneurs or business owners who are more introverted, they're not as extroverted, they're maybe have intellection where they're in their head, they like that think time, what would you encourage them with?
Yeah, I think you just have to find your style. And that's, I think, something that I've learned and also what I've observed, kind of really enjoying, stories from successful leaders is just take football coaches, for example, because I've read so many of their biographies. And, you think of a football coach as a yelling in your face, going to choose someone out if they don't do a good job. And there's certainly coaches like that have been very successful. If that's Bill Cowher, Bill Parcells, Jimmy Johnson, that type of guy. Or you have, but also equally successful, you have someone like a Tony Dungy or a Bill Belichick that's more of a quiet developer of a person, more strategic. And I think you just have to own your style. And the more that you know what your style or what your strengths are, the more confident you can become in that. And so it's just because you don't fit the mold of what Hollywood has cast as a CEO or an entrepreneur, doesn't mean that, you won't be as effective as long as you're staying true to you. I think that you'll find your own personal style and there's a million ways to get there. And you just have to, own what you're good at.
Own your style. I think we may have to put that on a t-shirt. own your style.
Yeah,
And of course, Clifton Strengths Finder is one tool that helps us get to know our style, our needs, our preferences better. When you think of input and how that even is similar or different than learner, what comes to your mind around that?
That's been the hardest one for me to really comprehend. So, I know it's like, it's a collection, which I do. I do kind of obsessively collect notes. Like when I, start a book, I'll generally start a new set of notes and I file those. I even like will underline vocabulary words that I don't know, and I'll file those. So certainly, like I think it is what the role I play, librarian, collector, curator. That's definitely me. So they're very interchangeable. I mean, I'm kind of curating what I'm learning, and so I felt like they played against each other pretty well. But that one was the hardest one for me to really, really understand.
Yeah, there's definitely similarities. I mean, input likes gathering new information, probably similar to learner. And at the same time, how they could be different is input has a fascination with certain things you want to collect. Is it quotes? Is it biographies? Is it gym equipment? Is it, certain things? How could you even apply learner and input to healthy eating, which I know is a big part of bodybuilding?
Certainly on the learner side, I think, for me, it's like I have been my own kind of testing ground, and I learn what works for me. And then I've been able to work with, literally thousands of clients over the years. And you learn from them too. And so I think when you get down to it, everybody's bodies are built different, and there's a reason. There's a million diets. They all kind of lead to the same road, meaning, if you're in a calorie deficit, your weight's going to go down. If you're in a surplus, it's going to go up. But there's a million ways to do that. And so for someone like myself, I've had to find I work off of carbohydrates better than I do dietary fats. And so a higher carbohydrate diet does much better for me. I've had clients that are 100% the opposite. Low carb is the way for them. And then I've got clients that, maybe the discipline part is harder. They do well on an intermittent fasting type of program where they're not eating until 2, because that's the easiest way for them to reduce calories, is just to cut out a portion of the day where they're not consuming. And so you have all of these, you've got to learn about how their body works and works better, what their activity levels are, and what diet meets that the most, their genetics. But then also their behaviors are probably even more so important. It doesn't matter how well, refined, about what your body's doing. If you can't stick to it, it doesn't matter. So
you have to sustain it.
Exactly. So you have to learn, there's a lot of self-learning. And then, the best thing you can do, instead of just telling a client what to do, is to teach them how to learn it for themselves. So they're able to control it at that point, versus relying on you for an updated meal plan.
And that's what we call a coach approach.
Yeah.
A coach approach is you ask that person, hey, what has worked most effectively for you so far? What is easiest to sustain for you so far? Yeah, that coach approach can work in so many parts, even when you're doing one-on-ones or team meetings with your staff, or even sometimes in our marriage, asking those open-ended questions to each other. So it can be used in so many different ways. So in our last couple of minutes here,
sure,
what is one thing that you have been rethinking in life?
That was a good one. The first one will be kind of a funny answer, and then I'll get real with you. But my dad recently, he retired. He bought a home in Colorado, and I was out there with him on my motorcycle and spending time outside. And that kind of made me rethink a lot, as I was like, so enjoyed, that type of atmosphere. I'm like, why do I live in a suburban environment again? But realistic. Of course, we all want to live where we vacation, right? But realistic, I think it's just been, I'm kind of at the end of, my very competitive athletic career. I've got, that window is closing. Of course, I could continue to compete, but at the level that I've been competitive, that window's about over. So it's hard because I'm in this position where I'm like, my company is growing very fast, and I could quit bodybuilding and dedicate myself to that growth. But knowing that, that's always, that's not going to change. You might as well, try to hold on to these athletic endeavors for while I still have the chance, because that chance will be gone at some point. So that's kind of where I'm wrestling with myself right now.
Okay, I have a little bit of a selfish question here.
Okay.
So I turned 60 here in a few weeks, and that whole competitive thing, I still have the competitive, but I definitely have seen changes, just in my reactions on the tennis court, my power level. And so here's my question. My question is, even as we age, like 60, what is any kind of wisdom you would give for being our best athletically, physically, as well as business owners?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's all about, this is going to sound cliche, but you've got to work smarter, not harder. And where as a young man, you might have, a younger man, I should say, sorry, you might have just been able to attack it with just pure power and just more time and more drills and more, more matches. And now that's not the option. You've got to be very selective, practice specific skill sets, practice, even if that is like, if your reaction at your highest level, you might have to work really hard just to slow down the decline of that. Or maybe if you've had a hiatus, you might be able to improve back to a level that you once were. And so, you've got to just be really strategic about how you spend the time. And then, it's certainly with the, the business ownership side, that's going to be all about balancing time and the same thing, just where am I most effective in my business? How do I do more of that and less of the things I'm, not so good at?
Wow. Two things that really stand out to me in our conversation today is own your own style. And I think work smarter. Work smarter, which both of those things we can do with our strengths. It helps us own our own leadership style, our own athletic style, even our own body style, as well as we can always learn to be more strategic and work smarter with what we have, no matter where we are. Man, this has been so engaging, and I learned a few new things about you today, Greg.
Okay, well, our friendship continues to grow.
Awesome. So thank you. If anyone wants to get a hold of Greg and Hidden Gym, remember to go to hiddengym.net or look him up on LinkedIn. If you also have questions about how to help you or your team, your organization, discover their strengths and grow stronger, work smarter, and lead wiser, just go to BrentO'Bannon.com. So until next time, everyone, be strong.
All right. Thank you, Brent.